A lot of people have fear. A lot of people feel the same way that we do. And it's really unfortunate that there's a wave of fear over this country, that people are literally afraid to speak out for what they know is right, for what they know is constitutional. The principles in which this country were founded on are quickly being eviscerated right before your eyes. If we don't stand up and make some noise and win the information war, we are at risk of it becoming a real war. No American wants to be pushed to the brink of thinking that their government is so tyrannical that we would ever even consider them coming to our doors to confiscate our weapons. If that sounds ridiculous to you, you need to be fully aware that there are several bills being introduced all over our country in many different states that call for just such actions. Mandatory buybacks, 90-day compliance confiscations, excessive limits on magazine capacities that would render about 90% of all modern pistols useless. I feel sorry for the people in New York as the politicians race to enact laws to violate the rights with no concern of the real victims in these horrible violent acts that we see every day. It's time to stand up. We all, as Americans, owe our founding fathers and the men that died horrible deaths to secure the freedoms that we have, to spread the word with every breath that is left in our lungs, to educate the ignorant, and spread the words of freedom. These rallies are often filled with hollow feel-good statements that, although are patriotic and well-received, they really don't get to the point of what needs to be said and what's actually happening. I am just a citizen, but I am proudly an eighth-generation American, and the forefathers of my bloodline have fought in every major war, including the Revolutionary War against King George and the Redcoats. We all acknowledge that our veterans that have fought and laid their lives on the lines for our freedom are our true heroes. We also have the same type of heroes that serve in our police and military every day. Our local police and our sheriffs are our last stand of defense against a tyrannical government. Although I'm here to commend many of those sheriffs, including Sheriff of Smith County, Larry Smith, who is here with us today. Let it be known to everyone that can hear my voice, we have many corrupt higher-ups in police. We have many corrupt sheriffs throughout this land. So back to my first point about most of these rallies are feel-good statements. I'm going to give you some of the ugly that you need to be aware of. You need to spread the word. We need to call out these traitors for what they are. I'm going to name some names. I take it upon myself, and I've taken the risk, and I am not afraid. Chief of Police, Police Superintendent of Chicago, Gary McCarthy, is on record as saying that law-abiding gun owners are nothing more than agents of political corruption.
Good, you hold them accountable.
Let me repeat that. A chief for the third largest police force in this country has said that if you're a law-abiding gun owner, you are an agent of political corruption. He went on to state on the record in an editorial interview that his interpretation of the Second Amendment is that we are only entitled to single-shot weapons with smooth-bore barrels. This man's interpretation of my Second Amendment does not qualify him to be a meter maid, much less a chief in the third largest police force in this country. And for that, he should be removed immediately and tried for treason against the United States to try to subserve our constitutional rights. I don't have enough time to call out the people that need to be drug out and labeled for what they are. But there are many more across this country, and we've got to start talking about it. I'm not going to name all their names and quote all their statements because I'd keep you here till next week. And that should scare you and alarm you. I can name many more names and quote many more quotes against your constitutional rights than I can that support them. And that should alarm all of us. Without naming their names or repeating their statements, I will tell you that in California, Maryland, South Carolina, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Ohio, Minnesota, and Colorado all have high-up law enforcement agencies that are in full compliance with taking your weapons.
Good luck.
Swearing an oath to the Constitution to satisfy public opinion and then taking office and acting against your oath is no greater treason against this country, in my opinion, as a citizen. I no longer associate myself Republican or Democrat. Every time I get into a conversation with somebody about bipartisanism, I can't speak, and whether I'm blue or red, I'm red, white, and blue.
Yeah. There you go.
We've heard statements along the lines of the only people that need assault weapons, which by the way we know they're not assault weapons, that's just a media propaganda tool to put fear into people that are ignorant. My semi-automatic AK-47 and my semi-automatic 223 AR-15 variant is not an assault weapon. It's a defense weapon. And all these political leaders throughout our country that are selling us down the river, if someone called their house and said a Christopher Dorner type character is in your neighborhood and he is seeking hostages and shelter, you bet your ass they want their 223, they want their AK-47.
Yeah, that's right.
I touched on it earlier, but I want to say again, my heart goes out to the real patriots in New York and some of these other states who are already passing tyrannical, unconstitutional law, standing on the graves of innocents that were killed by maniacs. Be aware, you need to do your research. The media is your enemy. We take solace when we hear the things we want to hear. You might catch a little bit of it on Fox News, just a little. Fox News seems to be the only channel that is digestible anymore. I called up an in-law of mine about 4 hours before the State of the Union address. And I said, "Are you going to watch Barack Hussein Obama?" He said, "You know, I used to watch him, but he goes, anymore when I watch him, I get dehydrated." I fell out on the floor when Mark Rubio took that drink of water because my uncle called it. We're all dehydrated. My heart is broken. I am a troubled man. I am in fear that the day is soon to come where the line has to be drawn in the sand. We hear terms like domestic terrorist, God-fearing gun owners. These are definitions that you can go to White House government websites and you can read for yourself. When you find yourself in an argument with somebody that's ignorant of gun laws and ignorant of the history of the United States and the blood that was shed to guarantee your freedoms, direct them to the proof. Show them the evidence. Don't be afraid. Log in to whitehouse.gov. Log in to Department of Homeland Security.gov. Read what is in front of you to read. It is out in the open. We listen to these politicians and these lawmakers stand up and say, "Oh, we're not infringing on your Second Amendment rights. We just want to take these weapons of mass killing out of circulation." These same people that say that to you are on record being supported by organizations, supporting organizations that have outright called for the disarmament of the United States of America. Name them by name, call them what they are. They are traitors against the Constitution of the United States. In the wake of the shootings in Colorado at the theater, we're all aware of that, aren't we? We all know that took place in a gun-free zone. Gun-free zones are victim disarmament zones. Gun-free zones are established that you will be like a fish in a barrel, and if anybody with a mental problem or a crazy person or for whatever reason, however you want to define that, they then have the security to come in there and perform their cowardly acts and take your life. And that's what the government wants, gun-free zones. The entire city of Chicago is a gun-free zone. More people are being killed in Chicago than are being killed in the Middle East. Wake up.
Wake up.
I told you about some of the bad cops, and I'm going to tell you about some of the good ones. Bear with me, I'm glancing over my notes. I'm not a politician, and I don't have a teleprompter. FBI National Statistics show over the last 20 years, violent crime by gun has dropped 22%. Some polls show that murder by gun in the United States has fallen upwards of 49% over the same 20-year period. A 5-year-old child can understand the simple mathematics that more guns in law-abiding citizens' hands means less crime. We will never be able to do away with those that can't be trusted. In a free society in which you can bear arms, there is always going to be a fly in the ointment. The fly in the ointment does not mean I lose my rights. A lot of us here, and a lot of people that I've talked to, not here, don't take offense, but a lot of people that I've talked to have said, "Oh, Shane, you're just sticking your neck out there. You're putting you and your family in danger." If speaking out for what I think is right puts me in danger of my own government, then I'm willing to lay my life down right now for everyone's rights. Senator Dianne Feinstein out of California. This is a 42-year career politician, a draconian vampire against the United States Constitution. This woman is on record on your television sets on CNN saying that if she could get the vote, she'd take every gun. And I quote, "Mr. and Mrs. America, turn your guns in." Barack Obama appointed her to be the author of the federal bill that seeks to do just that. And why they say that it will not infringe on your right to keep and bear arms, when you know the people that are writing the bills, when you know their goal is ultimate disarmament, this is how you get it started. This is how you get it done. They need to be removed. And I'll say another thing that I'm not afraid to say anymore. You hear talk of impeachment of our president. To impeach him would just imply that he was ever qualified to hold office to begin with, and for that, he should be removed and tried for treason against the American people. I'll pay high taxes. I'll pay absurdly high property taxes. I'll pay absurd food prices. I'll be fleeced by my government. I'll live poor. But by God, I'll live free and I'll have my weapons. To further show you how appalling some of these people that are riding on the backs of American patriotism while they're usurping our Constitution and plundering our tax dollars, to show you how mentally sick some of them are, shortly after the shootings in Colorado, Representative Joe Salazar, know his name. Joe Salazar testified in the Senate floor in Colorado that he feels that women should not carry guns. Even if a woman is in fear of rape, she should not have a gun.
Get rid of them.
He recommends that women should employ things like urinating or vomiting on their attackers instead.
Yeah.
It's funny, right? I mean, it is funny. You laugh, but then you become alarmed that this is an elected official that's representing the people of Colorado.
Illegally. For the moment.
If you try to rate my wife, you're going to get a 40 hollow point right in your face. I've called out some traitors, and I've poured out some negativity that I think you need to know about. Please don't take my word. Please do research. Be vigilant. Spread the word. I've lost some friends over this recently. A good friend of mine that I've fished with many times and known for many years. We would sit in my boat and catch bluegills during the spawning season and have talks about freedom and gun ownership and fishing, and he was all for it. But our media has hypnotized him. He's lost. And he told me, and I quote, "Shane, no American needs a semi-automatic machine gun." There's no such thing. How sad is that? This guy is my peer. He's 40 years old like I am. He's talking about semi-automatic machine guns. He's been watching CNN. He's been watching MSNBC. Am I doing okay? Let me tell you something good. Every sheriff in the state of Utah has signed a joint letter through their sheriff's association of the state, and they've submitted to the federal government that says not only will they not enforce unconstitutional laws regarding the Second Amendment, but they will stand in resistance with their citizens. We need more of that. For a sheriff to come out and say, "I will not enforce," means nothing to me. I will not enforce says I'll be on my couch watching television while your rights are getting plundered. We need sheriffs and politicians that say they will stand with the citizens of this country in resistance. There are 67 counties in the state of Florida. 67 sheriffs from the state of Florida have put an open letter to the White House saying not only will not enforce, they will stand in resistance against federal agents. Florida's not so bad after all. Some of these bills they're introducing not only call for rendering your handgun useless through magazine capacity bans and taking away approximately over 1,000 semi-automatic rifles just because they look scary. They also call for the reporting of large ammunition buys. What's their definition of a large amount of ammunition? Last time I checked, I could buy a box of 22 long rifle and a box of 500. So they must not be talking about 500. Because that's a one-box purchase. So they must be talking about if you go and get 2,000 rounds of 7.62 for your AK. Well, why are they worried about that if they're wanting to protect the innocents? When was the last time, by their definition, a large amount of ammunition was used in a mass shooting? I'll tell you when it was. It was the government against the people of Waco, Texas. Bear with me, I'm almost done. We've got a big time slot and just a handful of speakers, so I think we're okay. You're going to like this one, and when I get done saying it, I want to hear some damn noise. Chief of Police of Gilberton, Pennsylvania has put out an open letter to his citizens and his community in the newspaper. He's asking the citizens of his county to report to his department, to pass a background check, receive training, receive firearms and ammunition and fatigues, to serve as a reserve force in case they need to draw the line on federal officials. You can no longer be afraid to say that. You can no longer be afraid to say that. Eventually a line will be drawn. If we do not win the information war, we are forced to draw a line. A free people not only ought to be armed, but they should have sufficient arms and ammunition to maintain a status of independence from any who might try to abuse them, which includes their government. Before we leave here today, I encourage you all to network with the people that are here. Some of us that do Facebook, some of us don't. Some of us have YouTube channels, some of us don't. We all have email. We need to network and share information. We don't have to be friends. We don't have to agree. We don't have to have similar political views. But we're united in this.
That's right.
And that's all that matters.
That's right.
One more statistic. While they're using the assault weapon quote to come after our firearms, it's really sickening when last year, for the calendar year of 2012, only 300 people nationwide were killed with a semi-automatic rifle.
You won't hear that on the news.
Nope.
Only 300 people were killed with a semi-automatic rifle. That's a stat you need to know. You need to be able to repeat that to somebody that's in agreement with this crap.
Yeah.
I'm going to get down from here. I got one more little thing, inspirational thing to say to you, and I'm going to get off of here. I could go on and on. I've only covered about half of my notes. But I don't want to take too much time.
We love you, man.
Yeah,
I love you all.
yeah, we love you.
Without the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution, there could be no free speech. There could be no freedom of the press. There could be no freedom to protest. There could be no freedom to worship your God. There will be no freedom from fear. And there will be no freedom for your children and for theirs. There will be no freedom for anyone, anywhere. Talk is cheap, your liberty is not. That's all I have for you. I'm going to introduce the gentleman that's coming up here that's going to introduce our next speaker. And this man that's about to come up here is a dear friend of mine. I love him very much. And he feels just like me.